We're just trying to figure out how to do it.
But his job as a law enforcement officer is to look at everybody in this room as a potential criminal. Okay? Every person in this room is potentially capable of committing a crime.
No.
If a crime happens in this room, no, I'm just telling you. Okay, all right, close the doors. A murder happens, nobody knows. In his mind, everybody in this room is a suspect. From my perspective, as a representative in the government that makes the laws, I want to look at everybody as innocent and give you the ability and the freedom to act appropriately. And that's where we're different on it. And look, I respect what you guys do. I hate, and I wanted to say this on the, I'm glad you were at the political thing, because as it came out of the Senate, it was allowed to have a weapon at a political rally or a protest. And we pulled that out. Mac and I pulled that out. And I'm in conference committee now with Senator Beeson, Bill Holtzclaw, Senator Beeson, Senator Sanford, and Senator Bedford with Senator, what's the black senator, bald-headed guy, older, Smitherman, Senator Smitherman. And he is livid that we pulled this gun rally portion out of the bill. And he is yelling at me that it's a racial law. It was put into place because whites wanted to keep blacks from having guns at protests. And I'm like, I've never heard that.
Both sides.
And Mike Ball comes up to me in the meeting and he says, that's not the reason that law was passed. He said, that law was passed in 1978 days. The legislature was in session when the shooting indicator of the KKK was armed and shot people. It was to disarm the KKK at rallies. And yes, it was racially motivated, but it was racially motivated to disarm the KKK in these type rallies. And so I went back to Smitherman on that, and we were able to keep that. Anyway, I'm glad you were there on that and had a perspective.
That was an eye-opener. As a young officer to have 500 road Klansmen with guns on them. And I gotta tell them to clear 278 west. I'm sorry, hang on. You're blocking the street.
At that time, you probably only had 6 bullets in your gun.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I'm sorry, I'll go.
Any other questions?
I've got a question that's probably just a technicality. But now in Alabama, to go hunting, if you're over 65, you do not need a hunting license. So under this new law, would you still need the hunting license to carry the?
The way it's worded, if you were to keep it in your gun, in your vehicle, out of sight on your employer's parking lot, yeah.
Mr. Gold, you ain't gonna be working nowhere, are you? What kind of question is that? Hey, Mr. Evans.
I'd like to know what your recommendation is for local businesses that wants to ensure the safety of their staff. Like banks, for example. I mean, somebody's walking in with that strapped on their shoulder, I would say we're getting wrong.
Number one, you need to post it.
So you do recommend that?
But it's my interpretation under this law, if you have a concealed carry permit, you can still come into a bank even if it's posted.
And you always.
Unless you have a guard and some form of barrier during regular business hours. And again, you were talking about the interpretation. The District Attorneys Association at the meeting that the sheriff and I went to is taking a very liberal interpretation of guard, just like you were talking about, to the point of where a movie theater ticket taker is a guard and the rope barriers are keeping people funneling into the movie ticket taker. They can reasonably say, according to the District Attorneys Association, no weapons, even if you've got a concealed carry permit, because we comply with this law because there's not a definition of a guard.
And you can do that, especially for liability purposes. If I'm on the other side, if I'm talking to the group that wants their right to carry their weapon, my advice to them is, if they can't detect that you're carrying a weapon in concealed and you're legal, take it. Because they're not protecting you in that establishment. They're just creating a gun-free zone, which is nothing more than easy targets for somebody that really wants to do harm. So if you, liability-wise, if you want to put up your sign and say that the ticket taker and a rope are a security device and we're going to ban firearms, you can do that, and that's what's been happening for the last 50 years. But just know that anybody that's responsibly carrying concealed have been and will continue to carry their weapon with them into that establishment. I mean, it's going to happen.
And it's been happening, just like Representative said to me, you didn't even know about it. What we're worried about is the open carry that's concerning the public. The little kid's birthday party at McDonald's, and the guy that looks like a biker has got his gun on and it's scaring moms and
Right.
kids and stuff.
But those guys know the law as well as
Yeah,
anyone.
and what we tell them,
And they have case law, so you post that sign, they're gonna be ticked off, but they're not coming in, because they know they're violating law. They're gonna call me and tell on me because I made it easy for you to restrict.
what we tell them when we check them out, if we get a reasonable suspicion to check them out, is, yes, sir, you have the right to open carry, but let me tell you something. When we're off duty, we don't open carry. We don't want the bad guy to know that we're armed, because if he comes in to rob, I'm the first person that's gonna shoot, or you're the first person that's gonna shoot. It's not tactically sound. And I'm a gun owner, I'm a concealed permit holder, I carry, my wife does. You're gonna make it harder for us, because more and more businesses are gonna restrict weapon access, because you're not approved for the open carry. So you're really hurting us as gun enthusiasts. That's what we tell them.
Well, the act of putting the, excuse me, the no guns allowed sign on your business, has that really changed since before this law was passed?
Not really. I mean, what happened before was individuals were open carrying, and the way you had conflicting laws, I mean, I'm talking just within code, not even conflicting with the Constitution, where one law would say you couldn't carry a weapon, period, concealed, unconcealed with a permit on premises not your own. And then another law would say, well, you can carry concealed on premises not your own. And what open carry people were doing, they were going all the way back to the Constitution and saying, no, it's my right to open carry. I can go anywhere I want. And they would walk into establishments, pick fights with the owner or leaseor, and basically, get arrested on trespassing and disorderly conduct, and then force us into the courts, because it's their position. This is the whole other side, because I'm a demon on both sides. One side thinks I've gone too far. The other side thinks I should be put in jail because of perjury, because I didn't do away with all laws pertaining to firearms, because they believe it's their right to carry anything, anywhere, anytime. All right. So I'm damned if you do, damned if you don't. But
Tell them what our state motto is.
we dare to defend our rights. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, Alabama.
So, to answer your question, what this law did was give clear definition to where, when, and how an individual can carry their firearm. And there are certain boundaries. And what you'll see, now I need to warn you of this, as you start putting up signs to restrict firearms, you're probably going to draw the ire of individuals that are extremely pro-Second Amendment and pro Section 26 of the Alabama Constitution. And they've got these major message boards and this network
Facebook.
where they're going to, as you post, they're going to intentionally target your business not with guns, but with their dollars. And so just be aware, I know Piggly Wiggly just flipped their position on firearms because they had restricted, these groups came down pretty heavy, and Piggly Wiggly just said, they just removed all their signs and said, these guys are lawful, law-abiding citizens, and we're probably safer for having.
So, when would you address carrying concealed weapons in schools?
Again, there's nothing in this law that has anything to do with it.
The federal gun-free school zone states that you can't carry a weapon within 1,000 feet of the school unless you have a valid permit issued by the state, and the state does national background checks, which they now do. So if the school does not have a policy, then theoretically you could go on campus with your concealed pistol permit or your carry permit.
But even the policy is not going to supersede state law.
Well, it's my understanding, because it was on the news this morning, that the University of Alabama had imposed a gun-free school policy.
It'll most likely be able to.
Exactly, but it's
Dr. Halsey has issued a statement.
Same thing.
There, she said it's a state policy, or the director of education for the state of Alabama states you can't do
it's
it.
going to go to the courts, because Title 16 under Alabama state law gives them the authority to impose on the premises. This gun bill is just the opposite, so those two laws are going to clash, and it'll probably be up to the judges.
Yeah. We'll see, and I don't care which way it goes, they just need to figure it out. But Alabama state law also says you can go onto school property with a concealed carry permit so long as you don't have intent to do harm. And that's Alabama law. So, it really comes back to an individual that's going to hurt somebody. They don't really care what the law is. They don't. They're going to do harm regardless if we tell them how, when, or where they can carry their weapon. I believe the majority of Alabamians are law-abiding, responsible citizens who should have the right to protect themselves because we dare to defend our rights. And that's just the basic of it. I gotta go to Wallace State here in a little while.
Don't carry. No, you
I don't care.
Thank everybody
I'd probably
for
shoot somebody.
being here today. Representative Henley,